Thank you, Eric. Some new information in a murder case that sparked outrage across the country and on Capitol Hill over illegal immigration and the sanctuary city law. The family of Kate Steinle, the young woman gunned down on a San Francisco pier, now preparing to file a lawsuit. But it's not against her accused killer, Francisco Lopez Sanchez, an illegal immigrant with a long rap sheet who had been deported 5 times. Now, the Steinle family's claim is against the San Francisco sheriff, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the Bureau of Land Management, seeking to hold them all accountable for her death. This after the sheriff released her accused killer from jail 2 months before the deadly shooting, citing San Francisco's sanctuary city law in refusing to hold him for ICE. Plus, the murder weapon, it was traced back to the Bureau of Land Management, with the gun stolen from a ranger's car just days before the killing. And joining us now is Lise Will, Fox News legal analyst, and Wendy Patrick, veteran prosecutor and trial attorney. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So the first question, the obvious one, do they have a case? Lise, I'll start with you.
They have an uphill battle because generally municipalities like this, or even the feds, have what's called immunity, qualified immunity. Unless they can show gross negligence by any of these organizations, they are immune from prosecution. 2011, a California appeals court struck down a similar suit to this one. So that makes me think it's very much an uphill battle, but I may have some other ideas of how they could
before we
win.
get to that, Wendy, do you agree they have an uphill battle? They have to show gross negligence?
Well, as Lise points out, it is an uphill battle. However, we all saw this case coming. This tragedy, no doubt, was going to spark both litigation and legislation. Because I think what we're going to see is if, in fact, there isn't a suit that can be sustained, we're going to have to look to change the laws so we never have this kind of a tragedy occur again.
And could their lawsuit be separated out? Because right now it's 3, compartmentalized by 3.
But they're all going to say, each entity is going to say the same thing. Now, may I get to where I think they may have a case?
Okay.
Arizona v. U.S., that was a U.S. Supreme Court decision last year that said that states cannot overstep the federal government's obligation in enforcing immigration rights. Well, then that would make all sanctuary cities illegal. At that point, then, the family could go after and say, you are against this U.S. Supreme Court decision, and therefore we can sue you. That may be
meaning
a wiggle
the
room.
sheriff who did not turn him over to ICE because of the sanctuary city law.
Look at Arizona v. U.S.
Okay.
But on the other hand, what the sheriff is arguing, and what I think some other sheriffs and law enforcement in sanctuary cities are saying, we've got to follow the laws as they're currently written.
By them. Right.
It's so frustrating because they all agree that it would be great if there were policy and law that would require them to notify the feds. But if that doesn't exist, their hands are tied, and sadly, they could take it upon their own accord to do it, but then now we're into due process issues being raised.
And what about the Department of Land Management and the stolen gun that came from a ranger's car?
A separate issue that they didn't, that, again, grossly negligent. Were they grossly negligent? That is a standard. If they could, if the family can prove that gross negligence in not reporting this gun and all of that, then perhaps they have a case.
So with
How
all
did he
of
get
this,
the gun? That's going to be another issue.
And the reason that perhaps one of the main reasons all this is being done and all these are being put into one is a hope for a change in legislation, perhaps.
Kate's Law.
Everyone's been pushing for that. And if this lawsuit fails, or if it cannot even be sustained at square one, if it can't even get off the ground, that's another reason to look at how did we get ourselves into this situation to begin with, and can we change the laws so we never are in this situation again?
But if it does get off the ground, then other cities, other states are going to be looking at it and saying, we don't want in this situation.
Supreme Court case, that's the way to get those lawsuits forward, I think. U.S. v. Arizona.
So how long do you think that this could go on?
Well, at the first couple of appearances, that's what they're going to be deciding is, can it even get off the ground? But it can go somewhere, right? And that's what we're all going to be looking at. An appellate process, and like you mentioned, the defendants can be separated out and gone after separately. And then we're going to see how many suits in other states.
The problem is the family has to have money for attorneys to do all of this.
And we're talking about it, though. We're talking about it, bringing attention to it. All right. Thank you both for joining us. Appreciate it. Eric?
Another plug for Kate.